Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Pip Courtney. Coming up on the Rural Quarter, skin care for Darwin's crocodiles.
The whole commercial model of our farming is to make sure that we get first grade skins.
But first, it's a green scheme that has Northern Territory pastoralists seeing red. An agricultural company has bought a thriving cattle business near Alice Springs and is destocking it for carbon farming, angering the pastoral industry. They say good grazing land is being taken for unproven science. But the scheme's backers say the purchase is a model for the rest of the world. Christy O'Brien reports.
This 500,000 hectare property was purchased by R.M. Williams with the help of $9 million from the federal government last year. It's to become a conservation reserve and will be earning carbon credits mainly by destocking cattle and revegetating land.
We've been able to assist in providing a giant red canvas where we can paint out and work out exactly how you would manage carbon stocks in a large property.
The Northern Territory cattle producers are extremely unhappy with the project and say taxpayers' money shouldn't be directed towards a project that takes a chunk out of the pastoral community.
They need to have some science and accounting behind them, which a couple of methodologies now do, so that we don't see perverse outcomes where land that is good producing land goes out of production on the back of speculation.
A sentiment shared by the federal opposition.
It is a front about trying to convince agriculture that carbon farming is good for them. It is a joke.
Those familiar with Henbury's arid landscape say it's going to be near impossible to generate credits.
Science will tell us that carbon sequestration in our northern soils is problematic at best.
R.M. Williams says the project is just misunderstood.
I mean, we've got inquiries for these projects coming out of the US, West Germany, the UK, the Middle East, China, Singapore, New Zealand.
And the company plans to silence its critics by proving carbon credits can work on arid Central Australian soil.
The potato industry is the latest sector accounting the cost of recent heavy rain. Crocodile in the New South Wales southern tablelands provides seed potatoes to the nation's major producers, who in turn supply the big chain supermarkets. But with more than half of Crocodile's crops destroyed, a question mark hangs over the supply of the staple. Jessica Nairn has more.
The crops may look green and lush, but for potato farmers Garry and Matthew, it's what's underneath that counts.
They've already gone black here, as you can see. That one's gone to the next stage, so they're all lost, guaranteed.
Crocodile is normally a potato grower's dream. Its cold climate means the area is disease-free. But like much of southeast Australia, the land was drenched, reducing the potatoes to a rotting and worthless mess.
This is an enormous financial hit to us. In our crop personally, our preliminary estimations are around 366,000. And the flow-on effect of that, when I multiplied it out to our commercial grower, puts him in the vicinity of 3.6 million.
More than 10% of Australia's seed potatoes are grown from these paddocks. And with rain wiping out at least half the crop, farmers say the ramifications are going to be felt by the whole potato industry.
The flow-on effect will definitely happen probably in the coming season when the shortfall of seed flows through to our commercial growers.
If they can't source the seed in the quantities that they require to fulfil their contracts, well then they would be in a fair amount of trouble, I think.
The industry body says it's too early to assess the national picture.
But at this stage we're waiting to see the full extent of the damage. We're hopeful that this won't be as bad as we expect, but we just need to wait and see.
But for these farmers, the damage is obvious.
We're very, very worried. I think everybody's worried. I think the community is worried for us as well.
It is an enormous stress, and there's no way you can hide that. We laugh and we joke about it, but the stress is enormous.
Growers will soon find out if they're eligible for government assistance. In the meantime, they're praying the sky stays blue.
The historic Woolnorth property in Tasmania's far northwest is known for its clean air and wind power. Now there are moves to make it the dairy capital of Australia. The first new farm in a $180 million expansion has opened, with 30 more on the drawing board. Jonathan Gould has the story.
Wild and windswept, and about to undergo a multi-million-dollar makeover. The Van Diemen's Land Company will treble the dairy production of Woolnorth in Tasmania's far northwest as part of a massive expansion.
We plan to grow our company significantly. We plan to be on the back of the demand growth in Asia and other parts of the world for dairy products.
The $4 million Cape Barron Dairy is the 24th dairy farm set on the 20,000 hectare property. 30 more dairy farms will be built as part of the $180 million expansion, which is expected to create more than 120 full-time jobs.
It's really important for us to do one dairy up front and to learn from that experience, and then to take those learnings through the other conversions we'll do in the years ahead.
The expansion is part of a major push to consolidate the dairy industry. A powdered milk factory is under construction in nearby Smithton, which is expected to be up and running by the end of the year. It's hoped it will soften the blow of a forest industry in freefall.
It's pretty disappointing that we've got to see the demise or the downgrade of one industry for the upgrade of another. Would much rather have them all good.
The area will benefit from Tasmania's forestry peace deal. $1.5 million from the IGA will be used to build power lines for farms on and near Woolnorth.
That helps a local community like this one, which was dependent on forestry in the past, move into new industries.
For residents of Circular Head, it's hoped the transition will be a smooth one.
It's a vital ingredient in many an Australian hamburger, but it seems not everyone wants to buy locally grown beetroot. Entrepreneur Dick Smith gave away 100,000 cans. He bought a beetroot crop 6 months ago when local farmers failed to find a buyer. But even the renowned salesman drew a blank. He offered it to supermarket chains for 90 cents a can, but says he couldn't compete with cheaper imported beetroot.
Australian farmers are doomed. It's RIP, rest in peace Australian farmers. If we're going to be able to buy beetroot in the supermarkets at below their cost, it means they don't have any work.
Supermarket chain Aldi says its canned beetroot is 100% Australian grown and priced at 75 cents a can. When you're in demand from the world's top fashion houses, blemished skin can really ruin your image. But Darwin's crocodile farmers are hoping new research will help their crocs get that perfect look, saving them millions in the process. Emma Masters reports.
Choosing flawless crocodile skin for export has long been a guessing game, but there's new hope for getting that perfect hide. Scientists can now predict how tiny blemishes will look on tanned and treated skin.
What the best skins are, how likely lesions are to come out in the final product, and what they'll look like, which ones won't come out in the final product.
This is all about learning more and more about the skin. It's about the blemishes and how the blemishes actually come through the tanning process, potentially what causes them.
For the past 2 years, researchers have painstakingly studied individual scales for tiny cuts and scratches. They've analysed thousands of the lesions and then documented how they would look after the tanning process.
We have hundreds of pictures of raw lesions, what it looks like in crust and what it looks like in the dyed product.
Local farmers donated 100 skins for the research. It's a worthwhile investment for an industry expected to bring in $30 million within years.
The whole commercial model of our farming is to make sure that we get first-grade skins. The industry will not survive if you don't produce first-grade skins.
We would like to produce most of the skins, if not all of them, spotless.
But getting that perfect skin will remain a trade secret. Only local farmers will be allowed to see the research.
A group of East Timorese women is overcoming language and cultural barriers to get settled into the Kimberley tourism industry. They've been sponsored by the federal government to plug gaps in the northern labour market for what they describe as the opportunity of a lifetime. Erin Park reports from Broome.
2 months ago, Filomena Norouha was struggling to make a living in rural East Timor. Now she's learning the hotel trade in the tourist town of Broome.
It's really different from us. Different people, different speaking, different everything, different food.
She's one of 6 young women handpicked for a pilot program to train them for hospitality work in the Kimberley. Local hoteliers couldn't be happier.
Yeah, we have a really high staff turnover, so the opportunity to have people stay with us for a guaranteed 2 years was something that was really attractive for us.
The girls live together in a staff house with most working housekeeping shifts.
It's easy the work and then I enjoy it. Yeah.
Some have already started working in the kitchen and will soon be trained up to serve customers.
Yeah, it's going really well so far. The girls are really nice and they're doing a great job.
But the move to Broome is not without its challenges.
Before we come to Australia, our English is so bad. So now it's getting better because we're training at home, like more practice.
The women are very focused on their aim to return to Timor in 2 years with the skills to kickstart a tourism industry there.
We are try to, especially to save our money, so that we can, when we're back to East Timor, we can running our own business.
In coming months, the women from this first group will be mentoring 12 new workers to pass on the skills they've learned. The government plans to expand the program to other parts of the country if it proves a success. They used to say Canberra was a good sheep paddock ruined. Well, recently the sheep returned and were given the runaround by some of the country's best dogs. The national sheepdog trials were held in the capital, testing man and beast. Siobhan Henu reports.
It's a battle of sheer will, a showdown of epic proportions.
And it's the sharp end of the stick, so to speak, out there. Mistakes are punished.
There's no room for the timid as 50 of the nation's top working dogs muster for their tucker. Spectating is serious business too, especially if you're eyeing off the competition.
I just enjoy the skill. It's just the tension between the dog and the sheep.
And beginners are welcome. The rules, well, they're pretty easy to follow.
Having 3 sheep in such a big area and getting them to go somewhere where the sheep don't want to go, basically.
Yeah. The best have a knack for making it look easy.
When people start to say how lucky you were that you got quiet sheep, then you know you've done your job right. There's no such thing as quiet sheep.
Sheepdog trialling used to be the reserve of country cousins, but these days more city folk are joining in, training dogs in little more than a big backyard.
Oh, we've only got really a couple of acre paddock, which is not enough, but we make do.
Whether you're from the Western Plains or Western Sydney, all dogs are judged by the same measure.
Footwork, cover and force.
Sure, not everyone's up to the task, but there's no shortage of young sparks willing to take up the challenge.
And that's all for this edition of The Rural Porter. I'm Pip Courtney. See you next time.